Okay, so something really big is happening in the world of financial tech, but it's probably not what you're thinking. It's not about those flashy apps or the next meme stock anymore. No, a really deep shift is underway, and the companies that get it, they're the ones who are quietly winning. And this quote, it just nails the entire transformation we're talking about today. All that noise and hype from what we're calling loud fintech, it's fading out, and what's taking its place is stuff that's actually, useful. It's a move from pure hype to real utility. Exactly. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Moneyball, you know the story, right? The Oakland A's just stopped caring about all the vibes, how a player looked, or how cool his swing was. Instead, they focused on one thing and one thing only: what actually won them games, the cold, hard outcomes. Well, that is precisely what's happening in fintech right now. So, our first stop on this tour is SoFi, and they are the perfect example of a company that is absolutely crushing it by making finance, well, less complicated, not more. Just look at this. SoFi recently nabbed the #1 spot in JD Power's investor satisfaction study. But here's the really important part: it's who they ranked #1 with: DIY investors. We're not talking about hardcore day traders glued to their screens. We're talking about regular people who just want to invest their money and kind of forget about it. I mean, this contrast really says it all, doesn't it? The loud era of fintech was basically the Wolf of Wall Street. It was all about chaos, confetti cannons, and getting you to trade constantly. SoFi is the office. It's consistent, maybe a little bit boring, but you know what? It just works. It's all about bundling your entire financial life into one simple, easy-to-use place, not chasing that next dopamine hit from a wild trade. So, SoFi's success really proves a huge point. Winning in fintech today isn't about getting people to trade more and more. It's about making the whole process of managing your money less stressful and more seamless. That's the formula right there. Okay, now for our second case study. Let's talk about dLocal. Their strategy is pretty much the complete opposite of SoFi's. See, they don't win by being simple. They win by diving headfirst into the messy, complicated problems that everyone else is running away from. It's a pretty intense question, right? But it gets right to the heart of this massive problem that dLocal was literally built to solve. Because, you see, there are huge parts of the world where making a simple online payment is just incredibly painfully difficult. And this is why. In emerging markets all across Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, you're hit with this perfect storm of challenges. Not many people have credit cards, the local currencies can swing wildly from one day to the next, and the regulations, they're constantly changing. For a big global company, it is a total logistical nightmare. You know, a good way to think about dLocal is like one of those artists on Spotify. You've never heard their name, they never trend on social media, but they have like 3 billion streams. That's dLocal. They're the essential, invisible plumbing the giants like Amazon and Netflix depend on to actually get paid in all these complex markets. And that, right there, is their secret sauce. By becoming masters of all that complexity, dLocal has built this massive competitive advantage, what investors call a moat, that makes it incredibly hard for anyone else to come in and do what they do. They literally turned the hardest problems into their biggest strength. All right, so our third and final case study, Ripple, shows us a completely different strategy. It's a third path to victory in this new world of quiet fintech. You don't always have to tear down the old system. Sometimes it's a lot smarter to just build on top of it. Now, to really get Ripple's strategy, you first have to understand this thing called Pix. In Brazil, they basically solve digital payments. For real. Pix is a system run by the central bank. It's instant, it's almost free, and pretty much everybody uses it. It is a dominant, unshakable force. Trying to compete with that head-on, that would be just insane. So instead of trying to be the main event and compete with Pix, what does Ripple do? They throw an after-party. They're not trying to replace the DJ. They're adding cool new things on top of a party that's already a massive success. And the genius move here is step 3. They get to skip the hardest part of any new tech, which is trying to get millions of people to change their habits. The behavior is already there. And this, I think, points to a huge trend for the future. The next wave of billion-dollar ideas might not come from disrupting everything in sight. Instead, it might come from smartly enhancing the great systems that are already working. It's about collaboration, not just pure competition. So, there you have it. We've seen 3 very different companies, and each one has a totally distinct strategy for winning. But when you pull them all together, they start to form a kind of new playbook for quiet fintech. This chart lays it all out perfectly. You've got SoFi, the simplifier, winning by just making things easier. Then there's dLocal, the complexity master, winning by building those deep moats in the hardest markets. And finally, Ripple, the integrator, winning by building on top of what already works. 3 different paths, all leading to the same place: quiet, sustainable victory. And this all brings us to one final thought. As we move out of this era of constant hype and just endless noise, maybe the most valuable companies of the next decade won't be the loudest ones. Maybe the next great innovations will look, on the surface, a little boring. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what we need. What do you think?